everyone, welcome to the Knitterati podcast. I'm Lincoln Ashley from Knitterati Designs. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for putting up with me for another week. And if you are a new viewer, thank you for giving us a try. Hopefully you'll find something here that you enjoy watching. So, today is episode 26. So that is 6 months worth of podcasts. So in light of that, I have a little announcement to make, which is I am actually going to be taking a brief break from recording after this episode. And basically, I just have a lot on trying to get enough projects done to show every week. And, you know, it'd be handy if I maybe managed to find enough time to put on a load of washing, maybe clean the floors a bit. Yeah. You know, that stuff that gets pushed to one side by knitting. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking a break for a month after this episode. If you're a patron, there will still be videos for you. It won't be a full-length podcast, but I will be doing mini videos to keep you up to date with everything that's going on. Another reason why it's going to be good for me to have that break is because I do have a project in mind that I want to work on that, I mean, I've noticed, I mentioned last week with things like the titles and that, there are some things that I actually need to start keeping out of the podcast, which is unfortunate because there's always one or two people who kind of ruin it for everyone. But yeah, there is another project that is, I think, a little bit different and not as conventional as some of the lace shawls that I've been doing. So I'm going to work on that separately. And like I said, patrons will get some of that. But those videos aren't going to be made public. So for those of you who just enjoy the podcast, I will be back in a month. Well, once I'm finished with this one. Okay, so onwards and upwards, hopefully. This is the vintage jumper that I'm working on for Knit One Post One for Bletchley Park. I hope to make a lot of progress on this over the next month. So here is the ball band that I haven't shown you yet for the yarn that I'm using. So you can see it's Ice Yarns. I have never used iceyarns.com. I normally go through Yarn Paradise. I don't know if there's a big difference or what, or if they redirect to the same place, but yeah, I've never used this website either. Although I think the TR is probably for Turkey. I think they're a Turkish company. So we have it, Rose Alpaca. Oh, for heaven's sake. There. I'll show you the ball here. So it says it's fine. This pattern, which is Pamela, is the name of the pattern. It calls for 3-ply. So this is possibly slightly thinner than that, but I actually think it's working out well and I'm quite happy with it, and the needle size roughly corresponds. So I figured I'd just go with it. That, and it's in my stash, it's not that expensive and I can afford to donate it. So you can see there it's 25% alpaca. And I think I said before that it was merino because I thought it was. Clearly I didn't look closely enough before I started, but it all worked out the same anyway. And even though it has 55% acrylic, I have happily spit spliced 2 balls together. So that 55% acrylic certainly didn't stop me from doing that. That said, if you're doing it and you're not confident in your spit splicing and in checking that, that's okay. Actually, my join ended up inside a bobble, so it's pretty well embedded in there. I don't think it's going to pull apart, but you might prefer to do, you know, a different type of join, one where you can tie the ends together. That's completely up to you. I'm just saying, when I did it, and your mileage may vary on this, when I did it, a spit splice worked very well, and it didn't take too long for me to get the 2 ends to join either. So, as you can see, I am nearly, so we have the ribbing at the bottom, and I'm nearly onto the decreases. for the armholes. So that I'm going to have that done before I podcast again, so that will be covered on Patreon. If you are interested in checking out the Patreon, by the way, I will put a link in the bottom. The videos will be available from the lowest tier, which is $1 a month, but like I said, I mean, if that's not your thing, I will be back in a month with the podcast. I really don't want people to feel pressured to sign up for anything. That said, there are people who are making a contribution, so of course they're going to get something a little extra. So yeah, I'll be decreasing for the armholes soon, and what I think, hopefully, what will be done in the next month is the decreasing for the armholes, the second side of the neck as well, and the seaming. So I'm thinking that all of that is going to end up over on the Patreon side, and hopefully, if I don't completely run out of time, this will actually be completed before I get back. That is my goal. I'm saying maybe it won't get done because I don't want to call it an art project. I think that's maybe a bit too much to call it that, but I do have a project in mind that it wouldn't become a pattern. I suppose it's couture, if you want to call it that. I may start into that pattern over the month. Well, not pattern, but I might start into that project over my month off, but I don't know. Either way, if I do, there will be a report in the next podcast. So I guess I'm waiting to see what happens, so I guess you guys will have to do the same. I should also mention that when the podcast comes back, it will likely be in a slightly different format. I haven't decided what that is yet, but just doing the amount of work that it takes to show so many different projects each week, and I do want to be showing different projects each week. I'm quite unhappy when I have weeks where I'm not showing you anything new. So I think I'm going to have to change the format slightly just to make that a little bit easier, because it does cut in a lot into kind of family time and things like that. So I'm not complaining. I mean, I made the decision to go that route. I'm just saying that when I come back, that actually might be slightly different, just to give myself a little bit more leeway, because it is important that I am showing you different things every time. Or at least one new different thing every time, because I can appreciate that not everybody wants to see the same projects over and over. Okay, so that's this one. And I'm going to need this ball in a minute, which you'll see why. Okay, I don't know if any of you read the comments from last week's video, but I did mention in there that I have worked out what is wrong with the twist on this yarn and why it twists so much. So you can see here I have completed one sock. And I actually think it's quite pretty. And I like that the really bright colours are on the toe and heel, because it means that when my husband is wearing them, he'll probably be wearing them in the office, they're not going to be really loud under his pants. So, I mean, yeah, they are probably going to be eye-catching because they are striped, and it is, you know, you are going to see a bit of the orange there and what have you. But I kind of like that, you know, the only people who'll see the really bright parts of it are kind of people who we've invited into our home, and where he's not wearing shoes, because I presume he wears shoes all of the time in the office. So, yeah, I'm curious how he's going to find them when he wears them, because they are quite fuzzy. That said, I do like them, but I do have an issue with the yarn. So I haven't started the second sock just yet, because I wanted to show you how this has been working. I think I'm just going to unwrap the little bit that okay. And I've already had this pulled off. This is how I've been getting around all of that extra yarn twist that's in there. This I have not pulled off, okay? And I should mention this is not the actual ball band, but it's the same company. It's Lang Yarns. I think it is Yawol. And it is the Magic Degradé. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yet again, I've left the ball band in the car. So you see, I do actually bring the knitting for this everywhere. We went to a car boot, and out of all the time, I think I spent 15 minutes not knitting, and the rest of the time was all me knitting, trying to get stuff done. So that's just another example of why I need to swap things up a little. But anyway, you see how that twist is there? Now that twist is there to make the colours look pretty. So if we look at the ice yarns, that twist is actually not there. See what you're looking at here? That's not twist. That's just a different piece of yarn coming off. So here's what I'll do. Now I'm actually just paying out the bit that I had already pulled off the ball. Okay. So I put my finger under here. Okay, and I just pull off a section and I lay it down. Okay, there's no twist in this. See, when I take off that section, okay, that little bit of twist that you're seeing there, that's just where the yarn is coming out. But there is no big twist in here. Okay, so I'm just going to put my finger under. Working this off. See how that twist is still there? Look, there's a whole twist. And that is why, when I knit with it, if you go back to last week's, you'll see all of the yarn twists that had accumulated. This is why all of that twist is there. And it does make me wonder. I mean, it's done like this, I presume, so that the colours look prettier, so that when you pick it up off the shelf, it looks nice. But you can't actually knit like this. In order for me to knit, right, and I have to manually remove all of that twist. See how I had to do that? To get it to a point where I can knit without introducing bias into my fabric. So clearly, well, to me anyway, it is clear that Lang yarns don't really care about the knitting experience. They just want it to look pretty in the ball. Which, I mean, yeah, it's nice when it looks pretty in the ball, but I kind of like to knit with it. And I have to say, this has, I mean, I really like the yarn as it's knitting up, but this is very off-putting. You know, when I buy something that's in a ball like this, rather than buying a hank of it and caking it up myself, it's because I want to grab it and go. So the day I was getting into the car and we were going somewhere, I wanted a quick project, you know, something small, and I wanted to grab the ball and go. But I can't take this in the car. You know, starting to pull bits of yarn off and then it falls off your knee or whatever part you're holding it on, and I can't travel with this. Which then takes away the convenience of just being able to grab it and go. You know what I mean? So it then makes me ask, what's the point in buying this if I can't grab it and go? So yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I won't buy it again, but I'd have to be hard pushed. I'd have to be in a position where I couldn't buy anything else. You know what I mean? And I do think it's a little gobsmacking that, I mean, the company must be aware of this. They must be. And I am gobsmacked that they add in so much extra twist deliberately when they're balling these up. So that said, I was very proud of myself when I noticed it. And I shouldn't have been. It's something that I should have noticed straight off the bat. You know, oftentimes, again, I don't want to keep coming back to the time issue, but I don't necessarily have the time to look at everything. Look, there's more twists that I didn't pull out as I went. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide. Well, I mean, obviously you're going to decide yourself what you think of this. But yeah, I just think it's very disappointing, and it's something that, and of course now I've taken it off and I don't want to knit with it. So I have to put back on a whole load of extra yarn. I have to wind it back on. So there's no such thing as just picking up my knitting for a few minutes. I'm going to try and put it back on this way. But yeah, this idea of just picking up your knitting for a few minutes and putting it down then, you know, when the kettle's boiled or whatever, or when you have to go and collect the kids, or, you know, whatever's going on in your day. You're not picking this up for a few minutes. This is all loose now, right? Because I haven't wrapped it back around properly. So if I put this in a bag and then I pull it out again in half an hour or an hour, if I've been walking around, say, with that bag, you know, maybe I've put it into a project bag, it's in my handbag, I'm going to go get a coffee, this is going to be in a mass of tangles because this is all going to have just fallen off. So yeah, definitely not best pleased. Now, where did I? As you can see, I have proper stitch markers that I was gifted, and yet still. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. Still, I'm using old pieces of yarn as stitch markers. But there we go. That's my finished object for this week. Like I said, it's a pity because look at how pretty that is. I could make some really nice shawls out of this, even if you just did something very plain. It would still turn out quite nicely, I think. Well, I mean, it depends on how the yarn pools, but you know, you could use a couple of balls at once and it would turn out quite nicely. But that is not to be, because I'm definitely not, it's one thing knitting a sock, I'm definitely not knitting a shawl with 300 stitches per row and having to stop every few stitches to try and untangle that particular mess. Okay, and then of course, because I showed you with this ball, and I mean, look, it's still pretty, but it's just because it's a solid colour. You know, the twist doesn't make any difference, so there's no, and I mean, this is a different company. It's quite possible that Ice Yarns actually has thought about the twist as the yarn comes off the ball. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it bothers everybody, but it bothers me when I feel that the manufacturer was just out to, you know, to get me to buy it and doesn't really care about my experience at the end. I mean, I know I don't have the ball band here, but I'm absolutely certain there was nothing on there telling me that I needed to rewind it before which I almost do. That almost needs to be caked to be comfortable to use. But however, there we go. Hopefully by the next time I see it, I'll have a I'll have a completed pair of socks, and that will be the end of that yarn. And then this week, I was hoping to get this finished, but I haven't. So this is just my spring into summer shawl. So I have over half of this last lace section done. And then I just need to do another linen section at the bottom, and that will be that over and done with. This pattern is still free on Ravelry, and actually, if the user dropped stitches from Ravelry happens to be watching this, I know you picked up a pattern recently, not this one, but you picked up a different pattern recently, and I know you messaged me over there, but to be honest, because there's so few people over there, I missed it, and I'm sorry, and I have responded today. I do hope you enjoy the pattern that you got, and I just wanted to give you a shout out just to say that, you know, I did notice, and thank you. I really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate that you took the time to send me a message as well. You know what? If anybody would like to give me a little feedback on where you think the best place is to communicate with you guys. So I've tried the Knitterati group on Ravelry, and it doesn't seem to be, I mean, I'm not often over there these days because nobody else is over there. You know, so I'm considering a Facebook group. I do have a few of you on Instagram, and I enjoy seeing the projects there, which is great. I know Florence, I added you there, was it during the week or last week? But certainly I've definitely been seeing your work there, which is fantastic. But yeah, if there is a place, if there's a general consensus of, you know, we're mostly on Facebook, we're mostly here or there or wherever, I wonder would I put it in in the next newsletter. That would be an idea, wouldn't it? Okay, so when the next newsletter goes out at the end of this month, I will actually put a survey in it just to see where you guys are on social media and where you feel the best place is for, you know, if I can get one place that I can check every day instead of, you know, 5 or 10 places that I check every day and then I miss stuff. That might work out better for everyone. You know, that'd be great. So actually, if any of you are not on the mailing list, there's a link in the description below. So please do sign up. There is a free Addy Toon pattern for anybody who signs up. If anybody did sign up and didn't receive that, please let me know. I think there was a short time span where I didn't realise that the coupon wasn't working. It is working now, so you can either try again or give me a shout and I'll make sure that you get a copy. God, I'm doing a lot of the M's again today, aren't I? But there we go. I think that's everything. So yeah, hopefully this is another project that I'll be finishing off in the month that I'm away. I'm saying that I'm away. I'm not actually going anywhere. I'll still be at home. I'll still be on social media. Actually, if you're interested, I will be posting pictures of what I'm working on social media, so you'll definitely be able to pick up a few bits and pieces there. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think I fairly sped through this week with a slightly shorter podcast. Sorry, I keep saying it now. Okay, I give in. Right, so next up is the technical section. And in that section, I'm actually going to cover, I wasn't going to cover it so soon, but somebody has asked for it. And I'm going to cover a knit-on border. So that's what's coming up next. So I will specifically be covering knitting on a border to live stitches. Okay? And hopefully that will help with the valance that's being knit. And I know which user it is. It is the WT00003. And I'm so sorry that I know you gave me your name. And I should be using it, and I apologise that I haven't. But I know it's you, and I know you asked. So ask and I shall do my best to provide. Okay, so that's it then. For those of you who are choosing not to continue on to the technical section, thank you for watching this far, and hopefully I'll see you in a month. If you like and subscribe the video, that will really, really help. But also, if you hit subscribe, you're actually subscribing to the channel, and that means that when I do come back in a month's time, you'll get a little notification. And if you happen to click on, I think there should be a bell there as well, just kind of down under the video. If you click on that, you will definitely, well, YouTube assures me, you will definitely get a notification for when that video goes live. Okay? And thank you so much for watching this far. So for everybody else who is going to watch the technical section, I'll see you in a minute. Hey everyone, welcome back. As I said just a moment ago, this week I'm going to look at knitting on a border, specifically onto live stitches. So I hope that does help with the valance that I know one of our viewers is making. So this is the body of your knitting, the main body of your work. And here we have the border that we're going to knit on. So obviously it'll depend on whatever pattern you're using, but I am just using 5 stitches here. Sorry, I'm trying to get the focus to be a bit better. So I've literally just cast on 5 stitches, okay? And I'm using an alternate colour just so that you can see it, but it's just as likely that I would have cast on those 5 stitches with the original colour yarn, and I literally just would have used, I wouldn't cut this, I would just cast on and then continue in the same way that I'm going to show you now. Okay? So I'm only using 5 stitches so that I can do this hopefully quite quickly, and I'm going to try not to move too much. I'm very sorry if it makes it difficult to see. Okay, so I've knit the first 4 stitches, and I'm now at a point where I want to join my green, the body of the work, to the edging. So I'm going to go slip, slip, knit, and that's it. Okay, and then I turn the work, and you may well be working a lace pattern or something like that into, sorry, this is a little loose just because I hadn't pulled that. You may well be working a lace pattern into your edging as you go, so you would do that according to whatever pattern you have. And I'm just going to knit across all 5 stitches. Okay. And that's basically it. So you join on one row and then you knit back. So you're really only joining a stitch every second row. Okay. So let's go again. Actually, you might like to slip the first stitch of each row of the border as well, just because it can create quite a pretty edge, but just for the sake of this demonstration I'm just going to knit them. So I knit the first 4. I'm basically knitting to the last stitch, and I want to join the pink and the green together, so slip, slip, knit. Okay, so you can see there that this is starting to join on. Sorry, that's a little blurry. See that this is starting to join on to the side there. So there's your green stitch facing straight up, and the pink is going on sideways. So I'll just do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to slip, slip, knit. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you again. Sorry, the camera is very blurry today. That needle is in the way. Okay, so you see the green stitches are coming straight up, and then the pink ones are going across the top. Now, even if you weren't working with the live stitch, even if you were picking up stitches from the edge as you do that, it would be the same thing. You get to the last stitch on the needle, the one that you want to join in, and then you would slip it. Then you would, I'll just take another needle here. I'll try and get the focus, there we go. So slip the pink stitch and then just pop your needle through and find a stitch on the edging and just pop that up onto the needle as the second stitch and knit the two together. So it really is the same thing. I think people are more intimidated by knitting onto live stitches, which is why I decided to do it this way. But as you can see, it is quite easy, and if it's at all possible, I try to keep them all. Oftentimes with the pattern it'll tell you, oh, use a set of DPNs to knit onto the edge. Unless you're using a different size needle, I don't think it's actually necessary. You know, I will just use the original needles that I was using, as long as there's space for the extra stitches, and just go with it that way, because otherwise you're just confusing things with lots and lots of needles. So I would definitely recommend, if you can, just use the needles you have. You know, you don't really need to bring an extra set of DPNs into it. I know I'm using DPNs here, but that's just because they're the needles I have handy. They don't actually need double points on them at all. So there you go. I hope that sheds some light on it. If you do need any more assistance with it, by all means let me know. And thank you so much for making a request. You know, it's it's nice to do these technical sections and know that somebody is going to watch it. Okay, so I'll see you guys next month. Hopefully. Fingers crossed you won't have forgotten about me. Okay guys, well thank you very much for watching, and just another reminder to please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, that's it. Thanks a million guys. Take care.